This is a video about space and leaving gaps in music and what an important concept it is. And I guess the tagline is knowing when to shut up, knowing when to not play. Uh, this is kind of applicable to every instrument. It's kind of like bass centric, what I'm going to be talking about, but every single musician needs to understand the interplay between them and everyone else. You know, the bass player's job is very much a supporting role in general, in modern Western music, and knowing what that supporting role is. I've talked about it before. You know, in like blues music, being the kind of soft pillow that the solo instruments sit on top of. In funk music, it's about holding down the one, getting people dancing, that sort of thing. But in general, you should be making space for the higher register instruments, in my opinion. And an interesting aside is, like, there's a meme where there's a keyboard player, a keyboard with some sticky tape down one end, and it's like, keep off, we have a bass player. That's a similar sort of thing. I think that it goes a little bit further when you're engineering and mixing music. Michael Jackson stuff in particular, the reason that there's so much going on but you can clearly hear his vocal is that everything's carved out and everything has space, not necessarily in a musical context, but in a frequency context. So there's a lot at play. In the intro, I was playing a bass line just with a drum track. I went from the most basic possible, the most space. Like, you'll understand why that was the least amount I could have played in a minute, all the way up to, fill in the space with sound where there was a constant sound going. When you're making music collaboratively or on your own, where you're playing various instruments, generally like one instrument is going to come first. I know that when we've jammed stuff as a band, quite often I'll play something, the drum will join in, and that leaves like a sonic space for then the lead instrument, the guitar, generally in my case, to live on top of. That there's a lot of responsibility there for restraint, because there's no restraints. You're going first when you're making your own music. I like to write drums, bass, other instruments. I know that people like Michael League, when he's writing stuff for Snarky Puppy, he does the bass last because that's his main instrument, and he finds it easy to orchestrate everything else, and kind of put in the parts where people are going to solo, and let them do their part for their main instrument. So the reason it was the most simple thing is because there is a guitar track that I played. etc. So you see, I kind of played around with a few different things there. there's obvious gaps in the guitar part. You might have heard like, people say talking about call and response. That's kind of like a concept around this concept. So it's like an instrument plays, another one plays. So it's like I might play the guitar part or da 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 da, and then in those rests for the guitar, there's sonic space there to be played, to be filled if necessary. Now, even when I was just playing the root note, over and over again and not leaving any space, because I'd kind of not played too loud, I'm feeling, like I said before, about the frequency thing. Like there wasn't a problem. Where that tends to start becoming a problem is when a jam, for example, or in a jazz setting where you've got multiple instruments in the treble register. You might have a saxophone, a guitar, harmonica, and like just knowing that you don't have to play in those instances is like, I mean, clearly no one's talking about this, because every jam you've ever been to, someone will be playing when they really don't need to. And if you go and watch like a good jazz trio, like when it comes to where like you've got a couple of guys comping and one guy soloing, like quite often you'll just see like someone just stop playing. The saxophone just doesn't need to play, and he'll stand there and he'll appreciate what's going on. So like not playing is really cool. The other instance where not playing is really cool is funk. And like if you have watched any of my videos before, I talk about hitting the one, getting back to the one. Bootsy Collins saying, as long as you're getting back to the one, you can do whatever you want. And like just playing the one and nothing else, just one note per bar, or one note every couple of bars even, is just incredibly funky. It's like, everything happening just on one note, and you can get it where the horn section only plays the one. It's just like BAP! And then some other stuff happens that isn't the horn section. Just, maybe the guitar is chugging out 16th notes or something like that, or, you hear that quite a lot. And it's a powerful thing. Reggae is another genre of music where, given it space to breathe, very few notes are needed. And I think if you're looking at things like a slow blues, so a slow blues is interesting because it's kind of like the slower the blues is, the faster the guitarist kind of can play. It's preferable that they play a lot of notes. So like, just lay back, don't get in their way, make that soft pillow for them to lay on. So this is like a really simple concept. I don't see it being talked about in simple terms. It's like, use your ears. Like a lot of this stuff is like, use your ears, but it's not about using your ears. It's about using your feelings and your experience to be appropriate. And I think that a lot of that comes through listening to music, and building your vocabulary, your understanding of the language. It isn't, in my opinion, learnt through music theory so much. This sort of stuff, like I bash on theory a little bit, but like I don't think that theory is a bad thing. I think that it is pushed possibly too soon on beginners, and I much prefer a groove-based immersion, language learning based style of learning personally, having been through formal music education and gone through my own experience of learning differently. I think that for beginners, especially like older beginners as well, if you're a guy in your 40s just picking up a bass guitar, like, don't waste your time in the first 6 months learning modes or something that just is like a hard concept. It's just like, learn to listen to music, learn to replicate what you hear, and just be aware that what you're doing is, or what you're working towards, is playing with other people, even if that the other people are you on a different instrument. I think that making music is the thing to do. I think that working towards making music that you enjoy and you can appreciate as good quality music is the answer. So play less notes, carve out your sonic space, listen to where other people's sonic space is, don't encroach on it. Be a good citizen, be a good musical citizen. I hope that was interesting. I hope it was informative. I think that these sorts of concepts are just like the way I think about music. I don't see other people talking about them in this way, so I figure, I should talk about them and see what other people think. If you did like it, give it a thumbs up. Likes are gratefully received. Even more gratefully received are comments. Subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next one.